Hi, I'm Chloe. Today I'm going to show you the simulation process created by using the Arena software. To keep it short and easy to understand, I have created a complex simulation process related to the title, the making of burger patty and meatball. Okay, so let us get started. Okay, how I actually create this complex simulation process. So firstly, you can click on the file. So you will see the new. There's actually other pages that you can go into. But now because I need to create a new blank model, so I just need to click on the blank model. Alright. So you will see a new model appear next to the model that I've already created. Alright. So if you want to create a name for this, so you just need to save the model. Okay, you can click save as. Alright, then I can give name meatball and oops, burger patty and meatball. Alright, so I just save it here. Oops, this is not the right folder that I can use. Okay. So I can save it here. So you will see the title of the processes that I want to create for the making of the burger patty and meatball. It will appear on the next model. Okay, so let me share how we create the new arrival for each entity. Alright, so now I begin to create. Okay, before we go into the create, if you want to give a name or title here, so that easy to understand what is actually the process about. So you just need to go to draw, hit text, and then you just need to put the name that you desire and just hit OK. Before that, if you like to change the font accordingly to your preference, so you can just change the font as you like, and you just hit OK. So now I hit OK. So I just need to click on here, then the title will show here. Alright, so let me enlarge it so that easy for reading. Right, I can highlight this and I change to the size that desired. Alright. If you want it bigger, just change accordingly. Alright, there you go. So the first thing that we need to do is to create the arrival of the entity. So you can see when I double click this, you can see I'm using the create process, or they name it create module. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I just drag this to here. Alright, and then the next this is actually to create the entity. So what is actually the next step? The next step is the processes. So you can see here the processes, and this is the second processes, and this is actually the batch. Alright, and this one is the clone. Okay, so why am I using a clone? Because I want this process, I mean the final release goods, to transfer into the first station and the second station. Hence, I create a clone so that I can transfer the goods accordingly to the station 1 and station 2. Okay, so let's get started. So I have the create one, and then I have the first process, I have the second processes, and then okay, so I have the batch. Okay, I have the batch, alright, and I have the clone here, and then I disposed, alright. So for the create one, you can actually put the name of the arrival of the entity. So because this is actually the making of the burger patty and meatball, so I name my entry of the poultry that come into the system. It can be, if let's say your entity is mutton, then you can put the arrival of the mutton. If let's say the entity is beef, then you can actually put the entity as beef. So to make it easy, I put in entry of the chicken, poultry. So for this one, the entity type, I change it to raw chicken, poultry. Alright, so the type of the selections is constant, because I want this, you can actually have 4 different processes, process manner to change, to refer to. You can go by random, you can go by schedule, you can go by constant or expression. But then for me, I choose constant because I want the entity to come in every 1 minute. Okay, the unit of time, 1 minute, and after one another. So the entity per arrival, I remain 1. Maximum arrival, I do not limit my arrival. So I want every 1 entity arrive into the system 1 minute, 1 entity after one another. Okay, so I hit it. Okay, so the process 1. The process 1, you can actually name the process that you want to create. So if this is actually the writing process, so I rename it as standard, but if you have a submodel, you can enter the submodel, but you have to create the submodel in advance. So what is actually the logic of actions that I will put it in is the cease, delay, release, because I want the product to be, the entity to be ceased and go into a process. Delay is actually like a processing time, and later only I release the entity. So I will click on this, and the resources that I'm going to use for this grinding process. Alright, so I just change this is a grinding machine. Oops. Machine, and I just use 1 unit of this grinding machine in the process. So I just hit OK. So the choice of the delay type that I choose remain as constant. Alright, so they will only have 1 value to choose of. So for me, I choose based on second. from another of the entity to enter into the resources. So I put it, you can put it 10 second, 20 second, 30 second, so it's up to you. So I put it in 30 second, okay? So if this process you want it to be value added, then you just click on value added. If non-value added, you just click on non-value added. So there's actually transfer, weight, and other as option. So I just remain as value added, okay? So I hit on OK. So process 2 is separation. Separation process. Alright. So I remain the same action at resources. Separation machine. Okay. The resources used is only one. And I remain as constant. Second. You can pick the same time, the same value. So batch. Okay, let's click on the batch. Alright. So the batch is how many batch that I want to split it to. So I want to create 2 batches. So the size of the batch we can state it here. So this is batch 1. Okay. You can change the name if you do not want to use batch 1. Alright. And there's actually 2 type of batch. They can be done by temporary, or you can run it by permanent basis. So if you run it in a permanent basis, so you do not need to assign or separate the work later. So for this, because I do not want to assign just like a one-time permanent process, hence I do not choose the temporary, so I do not need to assign later. So this safe criteria remain the last from the previous process, and it can be any entity or by attribute amount. But for now, I want it to be any entity because the entity process coming in, we need to figure out what is actually the time that's spent for coming in. So I just straight away put it as any entity. And raw chicken poultry is the main entity that coming into the process. So I just hit it OK. Okay. So later I'm going to clone the whole entire output of this process into batch 1 and batch 2, like what I did here, batch 1 and batch 2. Okay, or you can name, they actually use the label for this process. Alright, okay, let's go back to this. Okay, so and dispose is the item exit from the process. Alright, so right now I drag it down a little. So I put it gold label 1 and label 2. Alright, I just simplify my processes. So I highlight this. I have processes 1. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. I have 3 processes here. So I created 3 processes here. Okay, and I have a batch here. Alright, and I separate the batch, and then I have a final process here. Alright, dispose. Alright. For the label 2, I have the first process, molding, pre-drying, alright. I do not need to do the underlever, so I can go direct to batch, alright, and I go for separation and go to the final process of packaging and depart by using this books. Alright, so oops. Alright, so now I need to assign the clone. Okay, so the clone one, you can change the name to clone entity. Alright, so I add this. You can change, this is actually, we do not change the number here. Then we just put it label 1, which is the first to clone. And label 2, this is actually the one that we are going to clone later. Alright, and then just hit on OK. Oh, there's a missing connection. So this is actually the connection. Right. Okay. Alright. So now the process here, I do it quickly. So this is actually the patty molding process. These are remain the same, and add the molding machine 1. Yes, I just use 1. I just click it OK, and distribute constantly by second, and I put the setting as 10 seconds, and there's no value added. Alright, and this is the molding process, and the same cease delay release, and the resources is right molding machine 2. So this is actually the second machine. So the unit of the machine is only 1. So I hit OK. Alright, so remain as constant by second and 10 seconds, the same running time. Alright, so let's check back. So that's the pre-drying process. Alright, so the first, the process from here, I changed to pre-drying process 1. So here I add pre-drying machine 1. Alright, change this to constant by second and 10. Alright, this is a pre-drying process 2. Okay, cease delay release again, add resources, free drying machine 2, because we can't repeat the name. Alright, so remain as constant and run by second and 10 seconds. Alright, so right now to make it look nicer, I will pull it over a little. Okay, so you can see here I have another additional of the running process here. Alright, so this is actually the under liver process. Right. So we change to this, add under liver machine, and this do not take a lot of time, so I also remain it as 10 seconds. Alright, and we have batch 2 and batch 3. Alright, so this is actually to tell the process how many batch I want to create, but this I just want to create temporary, and this remain as last, and this process is by attribute, so I can put it as attribute 1, and what is actually the attribute of the product or entity is the raw chicken poultry. So I hit OK. So for this process, the same, I do not change the name here because the name is unique. So this is temporary, and batch I remain 2. I change the by attribute, also attribute 1, attribute 2. So it's the raw chicken poultry. So hit OK. Alright, so I separate this. So the name of it has to be unique, so I remain as separate 1. You can actually split the existing process, or you can duplicate the original. But now I want to split the existing batch, come into the process. And you can return the original entity value, or take all representative value, or take specific representative value. For me, I retain the original entity value. Okay, so I hit OK. For this, I do the same. Separate, split existing batch, and remain entity value. So I just need to hit OK. Alright, so this is actually both is packaging process. So I just change the name, packaging process 1. Okay, so cease delay release. Machine 1. Okay, and this do not take long, so I put it as 10 seconds. Value added. Yes, value added, and OK. This is packaging process 2. taking machine 2 and constant second and 10, and we added and dispose 2 and dispose 3. So right now make it a little smaller so you can see the whole entire process of the run. Alright, so I would like to see the chicken, the raw chicken poultry process with the photo of box. So I just click on this, and before you go into the whole running process, you go into run and do a quick setup. Alright, so you can see there is a run speed, run control, report, and project parameter. So for project parameter, I will change to the making of burger, patty, and meatballs. So I can use my email address, or I can change to my name. Okay, the project description, you can see the manufacturing process of burger patty and meatballs. Okay, hit apply and the replications. The replications, the number of replications here is how many, is referred to how many days. So here stated 1 day, you can run by 2 days, a week, or maybe 26 working days. And the start, I will remain 1 here. Then the start date and time, you can schedule according to the date that you want, or myself, I just remain here. Okay, so if let's say you want to schedule somewhere in 5th, the operation time maybe begin on at 8 a.m. So I just begin at 8 a.m. I do not put any warm-up period here. The replication length is depends on the working hours. I exclude the lunch break, so I just put it 7, and each working hours per day we calculate as 8. Base time unit is referred to how the reports of the time use of the each machines and so on. You can put it as minutes by hours by days. I refer to minutes for right now. And I just hit apply and OK. So right now I can begin to test the process. You can see the number is running around. So this is actually to show you how the process go about. You can click on the checkbox here, highlight active module. So they will tell you how is the process going around. Alright, so right now the simulation's completed, and if you want to see the results, then you can hit the button yes. If not, then you just say no. Okay, so this is just test, a quick simulation without proper testing. So I will go into the original process that I have done earlier. So with animations of the entity. So this process, I set my run periods for 2 days. Right now I set it for 1. Okay, and let's run and see. Oops. When this window is not closed, then this will not be able to run. So this is actually the error that the Arena software will prompt and inform you. So right now I can do my run. So you can see the animation of the boxes moving around. So let's wait until okay. So from here, you can see the time spent for the run. Okay, so now we reach the completion of the run. So did you want to see the results? Yes, we can hit on yes. So the report will generate, and in total there are 12 pages of report. However, just now in the checkbox, I only request for entity, the report for entity, the report for queue, the report for resources. If you want to reach out to each pages, you want to read each report from each pages, then you can click on next, next, next. So you can read all the reports. Okay. So right now I just want to know how much or how many entities that come into the process or exit the process, and how many the time that's spent for the entity. So I just need to click on the entity, then it will bring me to the page. Okay, so in this overview, you can see the time of the report generate. Okay, and you can see the date of the report generate. Okay, and you can see the title of the report, and this replication is referred to one day, and is the time unit used is based on minute. So the report reading is actually based on minute. Okay, so let's see the entity. If there is actually a value added time, so you will able to see here we are using average 0.2469 of average I mean like per minute. The time used for value added, and non-value added is 0.3431. So there is actually no minimum value here, but the maximum value added time. Okay, so this is actually to tell you the waiting time, average waiting time, the time of transfer, there's actually when we do not click on the checkbox of taking the transfer time, so here will be 0, and if let's say there is actually any time incurred, other time incurred, it will show here, but then there's nothing. So how you get the total number is by adding up all this value, then you get a total average for the time spent on the raw chicken poultry. This is how we read the report. And you can see here the queue time. So the report also will tell you insufficient. It may need more time to run the process of the meatball pre-drying process. Okay, so this is actually the queue time you take for each processes. So we can see the average time spent for each processes. What is actually the minimum time spent for each processes, and the maximum time spent for each processes. So you can see it actually take a longer time in separate the meatball, which is average of 28 minutes. Okay, and the rest is others. Number waiting. This is actually the outstanding number that waiting in process. Okay, so the resources. This is actually the report to inform you about the resource being used based on the time unit minutes. So all the report is here. Okay. Alright. So now we want to exit the report and go back to the making of burger patty and meatball project, the process page. Alright. So you can see this entry produce 210 each batch. Okay, because I clone to 2 batches. Okay, batch 1 and batch 2. Therefore, 210 distribute to label 1 and another 210 distribute to mincemeat machine 2. Alright, so you can see the final figure here, 205. There is still 5 in process of packaging. Alright, and here have more, because due to the split meatball, I split to 15 per batch. Okay, so that's why it take a longer period, and you can see there is 13 number of packaging still on pending. When you add up this together, then you will get the number of 210. So this is actually the way we read the process, read the process. And you can save your process. You can use the Save As button, and then you just save your processes. This is some of the processes that I've been testing. Okay, so you can save it. Okay, I do not save it for now because I already been saving the file. Okay, thank you all for watching.